When you stay in your frame, you don't over explain, and you know that the world doesn't owe you anything and you don't owe the world anything, that's exactly where people start to become a little bit intimidated by you, and they'll probably watch you a little more closely. And not only that, but they will also be a little intimidated by you because they cannot manipulate you. They will only increase in trying to keep an eye on you because they can't manipulate you. They see your authenticity and your sovereignty as a threat to their mask, as a threat to their inauthenticity, as a threat to their dogma and their ideologies. It's crazy what happens when you just are able to call out the situation for what it is. And this is happening more and more. I mean, we are cooked, don't get me wrong. I'm very optimistic though. Things are moving in a positive direction for people who are prepared, people who can enforce boundaries and hold true to themselves. People are doing well. These people are doing well. And yeah, sure, it doesn't mean that we can't make mistakes sometimes, but if we can rectify those mistakes and not make those mistakes again, then it's going to be just fine. And people just are intimidated by the fact that you are able to make your own decisions and be who you are. They're intimidated by you because you understand that to be grounded in spirituality means that you're going to see things for what they are in the spirit. Okay, the Bible says that we fight against the principalities, not flesh and blood. And that's very true. That's absolutely true. And I was thinking last night a lot about what Jesus says when he says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God's. Because what he says is, and in the context of that, the Pharisees are coming up to him and confronting him like, hey, well, do you think we have to pay taxes to the empire? Like, if we're supposed to be free as spiritual people, why do we pay taxes? And then Jesus says, well, where's the penny or the coin or whatever copper piece that's there? And he says, well, who's on that coin? It's like, oh, it's Caesar. Well, then render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God which is God's. Okay, where do you see God? Well, you see God in all things, right? You see God in all things that are emanating him and his spirit. And when we, as a godly people, emanate the Spirit of God, and we are that light on a hill that shall not dim, as Jesus describes, people are going to get upset about this. Demons inside these people are going to get upset, especially when we call it for what it is. And even with the systems that we're in right now, the economic system, the financial system, the government, the universities, the education system, these institutions out here. I mean, it's just so blatantly obvious that we're screwed. It's so blatantly obvious that we're cooked. And yet at the same time, I've never been more optimistic in my life. Because I know that I'm preparing myself for when that time comes. I know that I'm taking my steps today to ensure that, given the cards that I have on the table and with me, that I can play the hand accordingly and to the best of my ability. I know that I can do whatever I need to do to the best of my ability. And it's like people get intimidated by the fact that you're competent. People get intimidated by the fact that you don't give in to peer pressure. People are intimidated by the fact that you know how to be softly commanding and powerful in your social skills. People that don't understand social skills don't understand an iota of what I'm talking about right now. But the people that do know exactly what I'm talking about. They know that it takes tremendous skill and emotional intelligence to actually maneuver in the world in a way that you know that Maybe you're not needing to be clever all the time. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to be who you are. And that's so simple and it's so stupid. Like, it's kind of like, in some ways it's stupid because it's kind of like the dating advice of, well, just be yourself. It's funny because it's some of the best advice you'll ever hear and it's some of the worst advice you'll ever hear. I remember hearing that when I was in my early 20s and I was trying to, I was trying to get out there and get busy when I ought to have not have been. And I couldn't really do much anyway, even if I wanted to, because I was too busy. I was too busy with school. I was too busy with working 2 jobs. I was too busy trying to just survive, and so, but I was, paying attention to this stuff. And whenever I heard, just be yourself, I thought to myself, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Just be yourself. But actually, in hindsight, it was some of the best advice. It just came from people that didn't know themselves or have themselves. And that's why I found it to be useless. Because these people didn't have themselves, and yet they're telling me how to be myself. Like, what the no, that's not, I'm not going to do that. But you have to risk being offensive sometimes. You have to risk being, because that's the only way the truth is going to get exposed, is you have to risk being offensive. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, you're trying to intentionally hurt someone. I mean that also in the sense of strategically, you have to be offensive. Not like verbally speaking, I'm speaking like strategy when it comes to finance, when it comes to spirituality and attacks. People will always say, oh, I got spiritually attacked. It's like, okay, well, if you are relentless in your attack, then that's going to be your best defense. And the best way that we can be relentless in our own attack is by keeping the word of God, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. That's it. As spiritually speaking and as spiritual beings, that's the best way that we can possibly do and grow. But the thing is that we're at a point now to where I see a lot of people that are not going to be able to make it. They're just not going to be able to. And the simple reason is because they believe that they are someone when they're really not. They've taken on the moral mask to be their persona and identity. But in fact, it's just their persona. Okay? If you've ever read Carl Jung's psychological work, you'll realize that there's the persona, the ego, the shadow, the anima and the animus, and then the self that encompasses the totality of your psyche and your consciousness. So the self is the you that transforms through time, but the persona is what you put onto the people, right? Then you have the ego, which is what I want, what I need, what I desire, etc. And then you have the shadow, which is the part of you that maybe you don't want to admit exists. And then there's the anima or the animus. The anima is the totality of feminine experiences inside a male psyche. The animus is the totality of masculine experiences inside a female psyche. And then, of course, the self is at the bottom. Everybody has a sense of self, the part of you that transforms through time, right? This is why you can pray for your past self or your future self or your present self. And you can feel like a very profound connection. Think about this, right? Think about if you pray for your past self right now. If you do that, what are you doing? Well, you're actually like, they're like, think about this. Maybe your past self didn't even know that your future self is praying for you. But now it's the present you praying for your past self. And at that point, it was your present self. But you see what I'm saying here. People don't think this deeply about life. And last night I had a dream where I was at a university and I saw one of my old professors who I haven't seen for a while. And then I walked around the corner and I was at my old house. Like it was as if I saw the landscape of my old house. And the sky was purple and blue, and the stars were way closer than they usually were. And it was a very beautiful sight. It was like the Milky Way was right there. Just right there. And I went back into the university, and there were all these people in line getting a degree. And they would go through and they would walk through this doorway. And as you walk through the doorway, there was this series of moments and classes that you had to take. And then on the other side, you would get a degree, and then you'd get a gold bar. And I went through with my old professor right there. He was like handing out the certificates at the very end. And instead of a gold bar, we got shavings of silver. And I asked my professor, I said, well, what do you mean we're getting shavings of silver? I thought we were getting a bar of gold. And he just kind of looked at me in the dream. He just kind of looked at me, but I felt as though telepathically he was saying that this isn't the way that it is anymore. You know, this is how life just is for most people now. They get promised a golden bar at the very end of the line, but instead they get these shavings of silver. Now, anybody that doesn't know how much value is silver and how much value is in gold, let's say you have an ounce of silver. Let's say an ounce of silver, you could say it's roughly a little bigger than this, okay? A little bigger than this highlighter cap, this 1 ounce of silver, okay? 1 ounce of silver right now is about $78 according to the last stats that I saw. Okay, now a few months ago, this was like silver, this much silver would have been only worth about $50. But how much do you think this is worth in gold? Okay, this amount worth in gold, 1 ounce of gold, roughly this size, right? Again, this is a highlighter, but that would be worth about $4,300. So you can imagine in the dream where I'm getting this gold bar, at least I think that I'm getting this gold bar, and I instead get shavings of silver that don't even add up to an ounce. So people are being robbed, they're being lied to. And the true beauty of life was always there before. It was always there. The beauty of life, this is what I got from the dream, right? The beauty of life was already there. But you just thought you had to go through the cog in the machine to get there. And that's where everybody's at right now. And they don't know what they don't even know. This goes for the universities. This goes for the education system. This goes for finance. This goes for spirituality. This goes for any domain out there. People think that they're following Christ. Like it's like any kind of Catholic or, Orthodox. I actually don't mind the Orthodox. They seem like the less or the least religious, because I'm not religious. I follow Christ, but I'm not religious. I'm just ritualistic. And I follow Christ because I don't really care for the label of like a Christian. And the reason for that is because I think a lot of Christianity and a lot of people who claim to be Christian have destroyed what it really means to be Christian. They view their victimhood as a sense of entitlement, and they think that, it's spiritual persecution. It's spiritual. And yes, it is. There's a lot of spiritual persecution. But they have no idea what true persecution is. They have no idea. And I would even venture to say that as rough as my life has been, okay, I haven't had to die on a cross just yet. Okay? So I'm still alive. I have food in my belly. I have a house. Well, I have a place to live. Let's say, because this is a 1-bedroom apartment. So I have a place to live. I have a home in my heart. Okay, I have food in my mouth. I've got clean water. I've got good food. I've got technology. I have a business. I have hard assets and cash flowing assets. Like I've got things going for me. Am I where I want to be? Absolutely not. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But God has given me these things, and only by His grace have I ever been able to do and to get to the point in which I am. Would I love to have a woman in my life? Of course. But that's really just neither here or there at this point. I don't take women seriously. And it's not because I don't want to, it's just because I've seen too much to ever do so. I mean, these are emotional creatures that can flip on a dime. And not even a silver dime, like like constitutional junk silver, but like it's just crazy. It's just crazy how we men, we have a gun, spiritually speaking, pointed at our heads at every single turn in the society that we live in. And we are bombarded with pressure to perform a certain way. And the second that we start actually to be men and to be sovereign and to be selective, that's when we get the most hate. And it's like, well, this is why we're cooked, is because it's only going to be the true men who see through the BS that are going to be able to go out on top, that are going to be able to see through the BS and realize who their competition really is. Because you're either on God's team or you're not. And it really is that simple. People don't want to believe that it's that simple. And it's like, oh, it's so black and white. It's like, well, yeah, kinda. Okay, it's kind of like yin and yang for a reason, right? I think there's a lot of utility in understanding what the yin and yang symbol means. But a lot of people, it's crazy how mad and upset their demons will get as soon as you have self-respect. And they'll watch you and they'll try to be you, and they'll try to take credit for your hard work. Or they're just kind of messy. They're kind of messy in how they go about things. And, I'm at a fortunate place in my life where I'm really surrounded by pretty decent people for the first time in my life. For the first time in my life, I feel like not only am I an asset to myself, but I actually have people around me that want to see me win, and I want to see them win. And all we do is talk about winning. That's all we do. And it's not even about winning just to win. It's like, no, we're playing the game of life. And we know it's a game. We see through the illusion. We see through the duality. And we want to go above and beyond in it, because, well, what the f else are we supposed to do in this world? What, you want to be depressed and filled with anxiety and filled with depression and all this crap? Like, what the or do you want to fight the system that's trying to oppress you? Okay, think about this. I was doing some research earlier on the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve literally has statements talking about how their words can influence the market. And what are they doing right now? That's exactly what they're doing. And they're printing more money. They're taking away our purchasing power. And we're supposed to just sit here and accept this? Like, people are still playing video games? You are in a war. You're in a war. And people are trying to kill you in real time. And you're just sitting there because, oh, I don't know. I'm just so anxious. Oh my gosh. We don't have time for this. We don't have time. Oh, I just really want to hang out, bro. And there's nothing wrong with hanging out. There's nothing wrong with a few vices here and there. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, you're more concerned about just what? Like, I can't believe it. People are trying to kill you. I feel like I've been screaming from the rooftops that the people are trying to kill us more and more each day for the last 3 years since I started this YouTube channel. And since I started to get more serious on X and posting my accounts on X recently. But this is crazy. We're being spiritually murdered to the point in which we are not supposed to have the resources, the tools, the knowledge, etc. Because remember what Frederick Douglass said? Frederick Douglass, for anybody that doesn't know who he was a slave, quote unquote. He wasn't actually, he said something along the lines of true knowledge makes slavery intolerable as a man, something like that. And that's so true. It's so true. Frederick Douglass was a really cool dude from everything that I've read about him. I don't know too much, but it's that in of itself is really powerful. And they want you to be slaves. Instead, we can play the system to play the system. We can win. We can win this. In fact, the war has already been won. Jesus Christ has already won. And we're going to just sit here and pretend like Jesus, there's two people in the Regal Change Academy who talk about Jesus Christ being the sugar daddy for people who want to be Christian but actually are not. They think that Jesus Christ is their sugar daddy, and it's so true. It's so true. And it just makes me laugh every single time because that's how they really view it. They feel like, oh, well, Jesus Christ has got it. It's like, well, that doesn't mean you just gotta shit around and do nothing. We're in the fight. Like, yeah, the war has been won, but there's still battles to fight. And sometimes we're gonna lose those battles, but we're gonna fight. And it's only the true lions that are actually gonna be working with me and side by side with me. The people who aren't sure of themselves, the people that they don't even want to learn how to be sure of themselves, because you cannot be sure of yourself and I'll still fight beside you. Because I know that if you're just trying to be better, if you're trying to be righteous, if you're trying to be a good person, I will stand beside you and I will fight with you. But I can't just give anybody an opportunity just because they feel like they're entitled to one. Your ideology is not my responsibility to live up to. Whoa. That even kind of just blew my own mind for a second. But yeah, we're cooked. We're cooked. But that doesn't mean that we cannot not try. Like, we gotta try. Where is the fight? Where are you? Where are you, man? Like, what? Oh, I'm just so depressed. I can't stop jerking off. Like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, I get it, because it's a difficult task. But you need bigger problems than this. You need bigger problems. When you get to a point with celibacy and semen retention, for example, where life is just kind of like you're just going. When life is just, you're just living your life, it's so much easier to simply do what you have to do because you have bigger problems and better things to worry about than not being able to play with yourself, dude. Not being able to play. I can't stop playing with myself. Do you realize how you sound? Do you hear yourself? And I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying get better problems. Get bigger problems. We're in a war. Again, people are trying to kill you. They're taking away your purchasing power. They're taking away your ability to live as righteous and true as possible. And you're just going to sit there and, I can't stop jerking off, dude. Like, we don't have time for this crap. We don't have time for it. The US dollar itself is on its last legs, and if you don't believe me, look at the silver market right now. Silver looks like freaking as volatile as Bitcoin. And you're telling me that if the bankers can manipulate the market with silver and gold, you don't think the system's a little fucked up? It's time to realize these things and to realize that finances and spirituality go hand in hand. This is something I wish I learned earlier myself, because I thought spirituality meant not even being attached to anything material. It's like, well, no, yeah, you're not attached to anything material, but you have things. You own things. If you own assets or cash flowing assets, or you have certain knowledge or skills or whatever, you're building yourself. True understanding of yourself. That's where we need to be. That's where we need to be. Well, I think I said everything I wanted to say in this video. If you resonated with any of this stuff, or a lot of it, because I'm sure a lot of you do if you're still watching this, then consider taking a one-on-one session with me, or the Godlike Master Initiation program that I have. But that's really only, the Godlike Master Initiation program is really only for people that are financially abundant in their resources as well as their time to actually implement this stuff, because it's an overall overhaul of life. So that's really what that's aimed at. I've had people interested in the Godlike Master Initiation program, and they've tried to negotiate like price and such, and I don't do that. Okay, I don't do that. And not with that program specifically, unless you're wanting a very specific thing, like out of, let's say, because really the Godlike Master Initiation program is divided into 3 parts for 3 months: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. If you want to just do like the deep dive into the spiritual, yeah, we can work something out. But otherwise, I don't negotiate the price though. Okay, I don't do that anymore. So, because it's just too much work, and we go into too much depth otherwise. There's just too much value there to negotiate price. But, with the Regal Change Academy, that's why we have the free tier option. Okay, we have the free tier option and then the premium option. The free tier option gets you access to the community, whereas the premium option gets you access to the group calls as well as the classes inside the community. So that's going to be an option for you, all right? Otherwise, I hope everybody stays blessed out there. Peace. Until next time.